Every time I see something in the news about raping, every time I see something about jail, this comes in my mind. And then here I am crying.
She starts to become distraught. She's not as outgoing. She doesn't want to do the same things anymore.
My husband was questioning me, why are you always crying? What's wrong?
I cannot even touch her before. She was just crying and this and that. That's because she feel guilty what happened with the guy.
Depression, anxiety, sleeplessness, all the symptoms of a troubled conscience. And it just keeps getting worse.
And nothing was going to change for me. Nothing was going to change. So I need to make a change.
That change, a new and powerful commitment to her faith in God.
She was drawn into the Catholic Church. She started to become active in a prayer group. She finally got up the courage to go to confession.
At last, in the confessional at this New Jersey church, Bjorny reveals the secret which has been tormenting her.
What do you say?
I told the priest that there was somebody in jail because I lied. I said he raped me when he didn't.
That's right. William McCaffrey never raped Bjorny Peguero. And Bjorny's accusations repeated to friends, the hospital staff, the police, the prosecutors, and the jury, all of it lies.
Why do you think?
I don't know how that lie became so big. I don't know why. I don't know. I didn't want to say it didn't happen because I thought he wasn't going to be convicted because there's no evidence.
They gave you a morning after pill.
Yes.
You took it.
Yes.
Why?
I believe my lie. Otherwise, I could have just thrown the pills in the toilet. Nobody would have known about it. But I decided to take it because in my room, by myself, I believe that happened to me.
But she knows that now she has to make it right. The priest recommends talking to a lawyer, so Bjorny goes to attorney Paul Callen with her startling story.
She said basically, I've done a terrible thing. You have to get this man out of jail. Turn me into the district attorney. I've done something wrong. I deserve to be punished.
How rare is it for someone to recant in this way?
It is absolutely 100% unheard of.
To lie about something like this and send a man to jail makes Bjorny seem like a very bad person. Why is that not a fair appraisal?
It is a fair appraisal if you just look at this thing superficially.
Beneath the surface, says Callen, there's a lot from Bjorny's past to explain her behavior. She's originally from a broken and abusive home in the Dominican Republic.
She was essentially abandoned by her own family and grew up largely in the streets. Her psychological situation is very, very different from the average person's.
Callen says with few solid relationships, Bjorny was terrified of losing her friendship with Aurora, the big sister figure with whom she'd had that fight. A fight which he says is the key to understanding the whole story.
She was just mad at me.
But when you told the lie to her the first time, that night, she was then not mad at you anymore.
She was not mad at me anymore because she felt sorry for me.
And you wanted that.
And that's what I wanted from the beginning.
She viewed this group of friends as her family. And many people tell all kinds of lies and do all kinds of terrible things to keep in good stead with their families.
Could you have ever imagined what was really going on in her mind?
Never. Never in a million years. Ever.
She said she was raped so that you wouldn't be upset at her anymore.
She said that to me, and I explained to her that there's nothing that she could ever do that would make me not be her friend.
Eventually, news reaches the man imprisoned by Bjorny's lies. William McCaffrey, her confession is an act of God.
Could you believe it?
Not at all. This is what I prayed for, you know. I looked at it like as a blessing. More people need to come forward and tell the truth.
But incredibly, the truth does not set him free. Even after hearing Bjorny's recantation, the prosecution refuses to acknowledge they put an innocent man behind bars.
You don't want to admit that you made a mistake. And they simply did not want to accept that McCaffrey was innocent.
We were very frustrated in how they were acting. You have a man who was languishing in jail, and dragging on.
The DA won't budge. So now, to make things right and clear her conscience, Bjorny will have to make a terrible sacrifice.
I don't care what happens to me. I just need to take McCaffrey out of jail.
Bjorny Peguero lied when she accused William McCaffrey of rape. Now she's come clean, but ironically, she has a harder time getting McCaffrey out of jail than she did putting him in. Her lies more believable than the truth.
There was no way that that could be true.
You thought that she was losing it.
I even thought that maybe somebody was, blackmailing her.
Pressuring her.
Or offering her something.
The district attorney's office thinks the same thing.
The prosecutors didn't want to believe this in the first instance. I produced Bjorny's bank records to show she had not been bribed. They then went and they checked McCaffrey's telephone records to see if he had been calling friends from prison to put pressure on Bjorny. None of that panned out.
Bjorny has to spend 6 months insisting the rape never happened. Finally, in August 2009, a judge frees William McCaffrey from prison. After wasting nearly 4 years of his young life locked up for a crime which never occurred, McCaffrey is reunited with his family.
Thank God. He's home.
Could you believe it?
It's surreal, I was just happy that I was going to be able to be home, eat dinner with my family.
What were you thinking to yourself on the way out?
My name is finally going to be able to be cleared.
When you found out he was going to be free, what did that mean?
Oh my God. First, it was a release for me that he was gonna be out. Then I started hearing from my lawyer that he's fine, that he went back to work. That's what I wanted to happen.
McCaffrey's conviction is overturned, and the court apologizes for the injustice.
Who did you blame?
I did blame the system, the district attorney, the arresting officers. You would think that, after all of that time, and them being professionals, that they'd be able to do, a little bit better job.
The lesson to be learned is you don't accept what people say at face value. And if that is going to make it more difficult for prosecutors to prosecute, then it just means that they have to work harder and they have to scrutinize their witnesses better.
Now, it is Bjorny's turn to face the wrath of the New York DA. After all, she's committed a terrible perjury. Still, her lawyer asks for mercy.
Bjorny was a woman with no prior criminal record, and she had had the courage to come forward.
She's had so many chances to correct it, though, before the guy went to jail, where she could have made things right. She didn't.
But it's not unusual when you tell the lie the first time, and then you repeat it to the police, and you repeat it under oath. It's almost impossible to get a witness to back out because the consequences are too great.
And then the stakes get even higher. Just a month before her sentencing, Bjorny gives birth to her second son, Daniel.
My son, oh my God, he's everything.
But despite all that, the court has a hardened heart.
And where are we doing this interview?
In jail.
And how long are you going to be here?
They gave me 1 to 3 years.
Lying about rape is very hard to accept for a lot of people because so many women get raped and are afraid to come forward because they'll feel they won't be believed. Then a story comes out about somebody saying they got raped and they lied about it.
It makes it worse.
It makes it worse. What do you think of that? You're that person.
I feel horrible about that.
Bjorny says she's sustained inside by her enduring faith and by frequent phone calls to her family.
That's mommy on the phone.
Mommy.
You want to talk to mommy?
Yeah.
1 second, baby.
Hi, Mom. I miss my mom because I wanted her to come back and then to stay like a normal family.
Throughout the ordeal, Bjorny's husband, Julio, has stood by her side.
It was incredible, but my husband never judged me, not even for a minute.
I think she can deserve to get a second chance like everybody else. I just want her to to come out from there as soon as possible.
Justice was done, and it was done because I think of her affiliation with the Catholic Church. So at a time when the church is being trashed throughout the world, I think this is a story of redemption having been found in the church. She has undergone some kind of a spiritual awakening that has caused her to try to do the right thing in this case at great, great personal cost.
And that cost could get even greater. With a felony conviction, Bierny is now at risk of being deported back to the Dominican Republic, torn from her family.
Do you still cry?
I do for my kids.
Why?
Because they blameless. They don't deserve to be away from me. And because of my mistakes, they have to go through that.
If you hadn't said anything, you'd be home right now.
I know, I don't regret it.
You'd be with your kids right now.
I understand, but I don't regret it because I see the truth. I did what I had to do. If I have God in my heart the way I have it, there's no way for me not to feel this peace that I feel now.
You're at peace?
Yeah,
in prison?
In peace, yeah.
William McCaffrey has found a measure of peace as well. Despite all his needless suffering, he is still capable of an act of grace, forgiving Bierny Peguero.
I just wish her well.
How could you have not been consumed with hate for the person that put you there?
You know, hate's not a good thing, you know. It kind of contaminates everything in your life. So if you end up hating, you know, everything else is going to go wrong. You got to forgive.
So how could a case have gotten so far on so little evidence? That is a good question. It's one that the district attorney might be able to help answer, but the office didn't respond to our repeated requests for an interview.